Hello to all. The information I'm about to read to you is taken from www.exposingchristianity.com. The Jesuits, the Society of Jesus. From the book The Secret History of the Jesuits by Edmond Paris, translated from the French 1975. About the author Edmond Paris. Quote, in exposing just such a conspiracy, he put his life at stake. End of quote. Quote, Edmond Paris never knew me, but I knew him without meeting him personally when I with other Jesuits under the extreme oath and induction, was being briefed on the names of institutions and individuals in Europe who were dangerous to the goals of the Roman Catholic institution. His name was given to us. End of quote. Quote, the Edmond Paris works on Roman Catholicism brought about the pledge of the part of Jesuits to 1. Destroy him, 2. Destroy his reputation, including his family, and 3. Destroy his work. End of quote. Dr. Alberto Rivera, ex-Jesuit priest. The names and the faces changed, but this is still the same program as Jewish communism. Christianity is a preparator for communism. When either one fails, the other is ready to take control of a region or country, just as the former USSR fell in 1991. Along with the other countries of the Iron Curtain, Christians moved right back in like fleas on a dog, endlessly and forcefully proselytizing and working to convert the populace. This is a vicious cycle. Quote, the Jesuits secretly and relentlessly worked toward two major goals for the Roman Catholic institution. 1. Universal political power, and 2. A universal church in fulfillment of the prophecies of Revelation 6, 13, 17, and 18. End of quote. The Jesuit Society of Jesus are the spies and the assassination squad of the Catholic Church. People who believe this institution to be religious or spiritual are sadly deluded. It is and always has been political in every respect. It is a political front that operates to control people using many fictitious religious characters and ceremonies stolen from religions, predating it from around the world. The separation of church and state mean nothing to the Catholic Church, which works relentlessly and ruthlessly for world domination by any means possible. This institution has been built on mass murder, torture, extortion, organized crime, lies, and depriving humanity of true spirituality. It has controlled kings, queens, nobility, presidents, governments, and nearly anyone in power. There are claims of a black pope. This is only a myth to divert the responsibility from the Catholic Pope and his organization of criminals. In truth, they employ the concept of Hegelianism by playing both sides against the middle to gain control. This is analogous to someone who openly preaches against illicit drug use, openly works for the DEA, pretending to fight illicit drug use, and in secret operates a drug smuggling and distribution ring right out of the DEA, or a crooked crop. While the Catholic Church openly claims to be a religious and charitable institution, it secretly runs and controls organized criminal activities, working hand in hand with Jewish communism. The Protestants are all too happy to condemn the Catholics and dig up dirt on them, as blame shifting takes away the need to explain how such degeneracy and odious actions could repeatedly occur within the Christian churches. Of course, we all know Satan has been a scapegoat for these criminals all along, as they are too deluded and indoctrinated to see it has been their own God who has always been deceiving them. Ignatius de Loyola was the founder of the Jesuits. The Protestant Reformation had done serious damage to the uncontested control of the Catholic Church by the time he arrived on the scene. He came to the conclusion the only way the Catholic Church could regain the power it lost was to enforce the canons and doctrines on the temporal power of the Pope, and not just destroy lives through the Inquisition, as the Dominican priests and nuns were doing, but to secretly infiltrate every area of life. Quote, The Constitution of the Company of Jesus was at last drafted and approved in Rome by Paul III in 1540, and the Jesuits put themselves at the disposition of the Pope, promising him unconditional obedience. End of quote. Ignatius was more aware than any other Catholic leader who preceded him that the best way to control a man was to become a master, was to become master of his mind. Quote, we imbued him to spiritual forces which he would find very difficult to eliminate later. End of quote. Quote, forces more lasting than all the best principles and doctrines. These forces can come up again to the surface sometimes after years of not even mentioning them, and become so imperative that the will finds itself unable to oppose any obstacle and has to follow their irresistible impulse. End of quote. One must always remember how the Catholic Church has much esoteric knowledge at its disposal for centuries of confiscating, looting, and systematic removal of these materials from the populace. The Jesuits have used this knowledge to the detriment of humanity. Unbeknownst to most, the Jesuits have infiltrated every country on the face of the earth and have been expelled by many. Through the Catholic sacrament of confession, the Jesuits regained control of kings and queens, rulers and nobility. They were even offered important political posts openly. It wouldn't be at all surprising that blackmail was frequently used. Quote, whenever a country was infested with Jesuits, they managed to take control. This was done through infiltration. Soon after the authorities began consulting them with important issues, large donations would start flowing in, and before long, they occupied all of the schools, the pulpits of most churches, and the confessionals of all high-ranking people. End of quote. Quote, the public is practically unaware of the overwhelming responsibility carried by the Vatican and the Jesuits in the start of the two world wars, a situation which may be explained in part by the gigantic finances and the disposition of the Vatican in its Jesuits, giving them power in so many spheres, especially since the last conflict. End of quote. Quote, no state suffered as much as Poland did under the Jesuits' domination. End of quote. Quote, and in no other country apart from Portugal was the society so powerful. End of quote. Quote, White Poland was heading fast towards ruin. The number of Jesuit establishments and schools was growing so fast that the general made Poland into a special congregation in 1751. End of quote. Teachings of the Far East were corrupted with the arrival and infestation of the Jesuits. Jesuit Robert the Noble settled in India to convert the masses to Catholicism there. True to the nature of a Jesuit, he infiltrated the Brahmin priestly castle, always appealing to the ruling classes. Quote, he developed the close habits and way of living of the Brahmins, mixed their rites with Christian ones, all with the approval of Pope Gregory 15th. He covered over 250,000 Hindus. The more than likely is where a lot of the ridiculous New Age teachings with their promotion of the Nazarene, the teachings of karma and angels comes from Christian infiltration. Quote, in South America, they conquered the natives who were subsequently forced to live under strict Catholicism. The Jesuits watched over them. End of quote. Quote, they punished the smallest mistake. The fasting, prison, pillory, on the public square, public penancy in the church were the chastisements they used. End of quote. Quote, the culprit, dressed in the clothes of a penitent, was escorted to church where he confessed his fault. Then he was whipped on the public square according to the penal code. The culprits always receive this chastisement not only on the public square according to the not only without murmurs, but also with thanksgivings. The guilty one, having been punished and reconciled, kissed the hand of the one who struck him, saying, "May God reward you for freeing me by this light punishment, for the eternal sorrows which threatened me." End of quote. Quote, "We will compose poems, but may our poets be Christians and not followers of pagans who invoke Muses, mountain nymphs, sea nymphs, Calliope, Apollo, etc., and or other gods or and goddesses. What's more, if there are to be mentioned, may it be with the view to caricature them as they are only demons." End of quote. Quote, "The Roman Catholic Church was among the richest landowners in North Africa. In Mexico, they had silver mines and sugar refineries. In Paraguay, the tea and cocoa plantations, carpet factories, and also control over the food supply, as they owned the cattle and exported 80,000 mules per year." End of quote. Quote, "And to make an even bigger profit, the fathers did not hesitate to defraud the state treasury, as seen in the well-known story of the so-called boxes of chocolates unloaded at Cadix, which were full of gold powder." End of quote. January 7th, 1960, in Rome, there was a summit conference that took place that was intended to bring a peaceful coexistence between the Soviets and the Eastern Bloc and the West. In the United States of America, Cardinal Spellman, who has numerous photos in magazines and newspapers standing beside important world leaders, urged Catholics to show open hostility to Mr. Khrushchev when he visited the United States and was a guest here. Cardinal Ottaviani, Secretary of the Holy Office, delivered the most vehement speech at the Basilica of Saint Mary Maggiore against the Soviets and the Western powers who were involved in the peace project. One might ask what purpose war serves when an institution such as the Catholic Church is striving for world rule. Nothing known to humanity changes lives. Creatures, devastations, and nothing known to humanity changes lives, creates devastation, and opens people up for domination more than war. Both sides of the conflict are aided and funded by those intent on establishing world domination and the creation of a slave state. At the end of the war, all countries concerned are at the debt of the international bankers, much of these owned and operated by the Vatican. This is not to disregard others who are working for the same objective. All parties involved use each other to achieve these ends. Along the way, both despise each other out of greed and seek each other's destruction. So if the goal is achieved, the winner takes all. What they all have in common is the worship of the same God. References: Vatican Assassins Wanted in the House of My Friends, the Diabolical History of the Society of Jesus, including its second 30 years, War 1940 to 1945, its Cold War 1945-1990, and its assassination of America's first Roman Catholic President, John Fitzgerald Kennedy. 1963, by Eric John Phelps, copyright 2001. IBIT page 23, IBIT page 21, IBIT page 38, IBIT page 9, IBIT page 41, IBIT page 50 to 51, IBIT page 56 to 57, IBIT page 62, IBIT page 68, IBIT page 184. Other references: The Secret History of the Genocide by Edmond Paris, translated from the French, copyright 1975. Thank you for listening, and hail Satan.